Well, Marsh, what do you say you show this girl a little small-town hospitality?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sure. Marshall Clark. Biologist, taxi, cab guy at your service.
Cool. Start the meeting.
Hey, what's up, Dumpster Dwellers? This is our first mini episode, and today we are chatting with the very awesome Simon Bossell.
Hey, Joe. How's it going?
All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show and chatting with us about Aberration today.
No problem at all. No problem. My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Oh, of course.
I appreciate it.
Of course. So you're in Australia right now?
Yes, in the 40-degree heat, which I believe is 104. To convert that to Fahrenheit, I've got bushfires out to the west and to the south and to the north and to the east. No, not the north, the east, not the north, thank God. So at least there's one way out.
We discussed that briefly over the email. So what's going on out there? Any updates? Any positive updates?
It's just not over. It rains and then it dries out, and then it picks up again. It's just all tinder dry out there. And it's just it's sad. Look, we haven't been negatively impacted. I'm very, very lucky to live where I live, and we're in a safe area. We have got a huge amount of dam water that's available. The problem is the pipes are too narrow to sort of combat the incredible volumes of fire that surround us at the moment, and it's just really tough on these guys. I mean, it's just incredibly tough, and the firemen and the tragedy of those three heroes basically who lost their lives fighting fires, on foreign shores, Americans who came over here in a C-130 and were just doing their jobs. It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. It's a real tragedy. It's a real life tragedy. You see things like this on TV. You watch Towering Inferno. You think it's never going to touch me. You watch, Titanic, or you see it as a pop culture reflection of something that's never really going to happen. But yeah, we've got it right here on our front doorstep now. It's all real. Very real.
Yeah, and Simon, this is Sean from Movie Dumpster also.
Hi, Sean. So I didn't mean to bring down the tone there, but...
I mean, I you say that, people losing their lives, and I just, besides that, which is already horrible in and of itself, it's, what was it, 3 million animals were killed in this or something along those lines? Oh,
look, yeah, we haven't even begun to look at the incredible... impact that it's had on our natural diversity. That struggle will be ongoing, and already we're starting to argue about how we should do that rather than actually just getting down and starting.
Right.
And where the money goes and everything. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of arguing, and I hope that there's somebody. I hope, but I don't think there is, somebody who can step in and make executive decisions just to get this going instead of just arguing about it the whole time. But there's a lot of differing opinions about how to...
Right, arguing semantics and science and...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a question of not just the impact now and obviously just the fires, but ongoing, and that's the habitat and the natural environment. I've heard stories of a fireman brought to tears basically because he could hear the koalas screaming in the trees.
Oh
my
geez.
God.
Yeah, like literally just the worst sound you've ever heard. I know it's really grisly, but this is what is happening. And it's there's no way around it. It is happening, and it is. I don't think anyone can argue that it's anything other than obviously climate change, which is wrought by human beings or at least helped by human beings, or made worse by human beings. And so we have to just all what's incredible is the communities have all come together in quite a profound way to help each other, and a lot of the people who live and work in Australia that normally wouldn't have anything to do with each other have been brought together and to combat this tragedy.
That's fantastic. I hope you guys can get that sorted out soon.
Yeah.
On a little bit of a lighter note.
I'm sorry about that. Don't get me started. That's the key to Simon Bossell is you get me started on a particular subject. I kind of tend to stick there. So apologies for that.
No. Don't apologize.
We are you're in good company in that sense.
Yeah, and really we did want to talk to you about it because we wanted some insight, sort of straight from the horse's mouth, you know?
Sure, of course.
So now you're in Canberra, right?
Yes, I live in Canberra now.
Okay, which is crazy because I listened to are you familiar with Mysterious Universe?
No, I'm not. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, it's an Australian podcast, and they talk about all kinds of stuff, conspiracy theories, cryptozoology, all kinds of really great stuff. And just real quick, you know, they were talking about Canberra and how that's the new capital for Australia, which me and a few people that I have talked to didn't realize that.
Oh, sure.
But also that it has 4 entrance ways, and it's kind of like this weird island city. And they have all these theories about it being like haunted or like channeling ghosts and stuff and demons and things. Have you heard any of that?
It's haunted by public servants. No, I have not. I have not heard any of that. But it sounds fascinating. You know, one of my a long time ago and still ongoing is like I'm fascinated in the things that people make up to sort of anthropomorphize the world around them to try to make sense of it. And conspiracy theories are very much a part of that. There's one of my favorite old British miniseries is a show called Edge of Darkness, which explores that territory. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Later it became a Mel Gibson film, but that one wasn't as good. But the original one was fantastic with Joanne Wally, who became Joanne Wally Kilmer. Anyway, that was a great show, which is about conspiracy theories. And the thing is that people need to create things that make sense to them, to make sense of their world. And I fully understand that. And some of the most wonderful creative things have come out of those people trying to make sense of their world. So I never knock it.
Absolutely.
But this is Canberra has many different roads leading to and from. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but
yeah.
And Canberra's always been the capital of Australia.
Really?
Ever since Federation. Yes. It's just publicly, it's not seen as the capital because really, it's really just a city which focuses it's like any created city that like you build an iron mine and then a town will evolve around that. We decided that neither Sydney nor Melbourne should be, when I say we, I mean the federated long before I was born, when we were building a federation of states in Australia, they decided that between Sydney and Melbourne, somewhere there should be a capital which stands aside and alone and is focused on being a government centre.
Gotcha.
For a variety of different reasons. Like, I guess, you know, capital of Germany is Bonn. Like, what else does Bonn do?
Oh, right.
Just the capital of Germany, right? And so that's how Canberra basically evolved around being the public service capital. And it gets knocked for a variety of reasons for that, and probably, you know, largely probably with good reason and sometimes a little harshly, I feel. You know, it's because anything which just stands alone as a single purpose sort of town is open to, I guess, ridicule in some ways.
Gotcha.
Hey, listen, we're both from New Jersey, so here in the States, we've heard our fair share of stuff along those lines.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Same thing. Yeah, some people love to hate some parts of the world, and that's just, you know, you just sort of comes with the territory, really.
Yeah, no, we totally get that. We're like the armpit of the U.S.
Well, same, brother. Same.
So we wanted to kind of dig into your background a little bit before we want to talk about Aberration, but we want to talk about you know, your start and some of the projects that you've done before that. So I guess the first big question is, you know, how did you get into acting?
Oh, wow. now you're taking me back. A long way back. My mum was an actress, so that sort of played on my mind when I was a kid, and I always thought about that. But when I was in my teenage years, I didn't think about it too much until I left the country, and then I travelled around the world a little bit, well, Europe, and when I was living in the United Kingdom in London, I came into contact with British theatre, which I found to be very remarkably, profoundly different to Australian theatre that I had seen. And I felt really inspired. So I joined I was there to just make some money so I could go traveling again, because I'm a bit of a travel nut. And I joined this theatre company and realized that really what acting is just traveling in the mind. And then I just naturally went from, when I went back to Australia, I looked for an agent, I got an agent, and I started working. And it just kept going. And then I found myself admitted to NIDA, which is the National Institute of Dramatic Art, which is the top school in Australia. And then I went through 3 years there and came out, and the first thing I got was a fantastic job called Joe's Jury, which was about Joe Bielke-Peterson perjury trial, which was right up my alley because it was a real person. I got to talk to a real person and interview them and play them. And so I had a great responsibility to do right by him, which he said I did, which I was really pleased about. It was really my only focus.
That's great.
yeah. And then, once I had that experience with a wonderful director, Ken Cameron, I just couldn't stop. And so I just threw myself at it. Literally, I was so single-minded. I just didn't think about anything else. Everything in life became interpreted through that experience. So I sort of, to a degree, became obsessed. And so many years later, when I started forming very distinct opinions about how pop culture should be, I found myself a victim of narratives that I didn't want to be a part of. And that eroded my ability to continue as an actor.
Okay.
Because it wasn't commercially, it's not professionally feasible to run the narrative as an actor. You are the conveyor of the narrative. You cannot run it unless you're, some completely different form like stand-up comedy or some sort of sketch comedy where you're ad-libbing and stuff like that. So I resisted that, and it was causing me distress. And so eventually I realized that what I had to do was get out. I didn't know how to do that, and it was a tough time for me. But now, things are so good.
That's fantastic.
So good now.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I guess you're not going to be too happy about the next question, because I was going to ask you. Now, you've done a ton of Australian television, and I did try to look for a few of those things, and I couldn't find too many that were streaming. But Sean and myself and our other co-host Connor, who couldn't make it today because he's sick, unfortunately. But you were on a huge favorite of ours, Farscape.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Neri.
For an episode.
For an episode, yes, you played Neri.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yes. It's Dave.
I guess my follow-up to that would be like, what was that experience?
Oh, it was really like, I have this memory of it like being a very sort of if you imagine like David Bowie sort of look.
Yeah.
And I was sort of in the middle of all of this machinery. The set was in a warehouse, and so I just sort of felt like I was in a bunker in Berlin or something, and I was just at the beginning of some sort of new experience. It was really haunting and wonderful, and there was lots of tech, and the sets were of course really out there, and working with everyone was great, and working with Gigi Edgley was fantastic, and we had a really, really good time on that show. I remember just at the beginning, people were getting around on those motorized scooters. It was just becoming the thing.
Right,
and now
right.
you see everybody, like it's all over the place. But just like I remember sort of looking around, seeing this guy getting around the place, it's like, you're a motorized scooter. Really, you're walking as fast as me. What's that about? Can't you just walk? You know. But I still thought it was wonderful.
Now, you worked with Gigi on another show, an Australian show called Water Rats, right?
Yeah. She was not. She was on the show that I was working on, but I was working mostly with Aaron Peterson.
Gotcha.
Okay.
He's wonderful.
Forgive me, I haven't actually seen the show. So,
no, sure.
I noticed that you guys appeared in the same show, so I wasn't sure if you guys had met there or what have you.
We did meet there, and then later, obviously, we actually did more actual work together. I don't think I had any scenes with Gigi in Water Rats, if I remember right. So apologies if I got that wrong, Gigi. But yes, I don't think we did. It was mostly interview scenes, like you can remember it was Steve Bisley, Aaron Peterson. Steve Bisley, Aaron Peterson. It's pretty hard to forget that. If Gigi walked in, I think I would have noticed.
Another funny thing, just a side note, like I was looking up on your IMDb and I'm like, wow, he did all these works with John Waters. And I'm like, wait a second, that's not Master of Filth John Waters. That's Australian actor John Waters.
That's right. Glass Onion John Waters. We did the Glass Onion tour, which is him as John Lennon all around Australia. And I think he still does. I'm not sure where he's up to. I haven't seen John for a long time. But fantastic guy to spend four episodes of Singapore Sling with. He was just such a wonderful actor and friend. Yeah, great guy. I don't know what to tell you, but I had to chase a motorbike in that show in Singapore through heat. And I came out of I said, you just chase this motorbike and you'll be fine. And I'm like, my character's supposed to be intelligent. Why am I running after a motorbike? Don't worry about it. Just do it.
Because we need action. That's why.
So it's exciting. Nobody will ask that question. So just keep running. And okay, all right. So I had to do it. I did it once. I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. I'm pretty puffed, but we got that, right? No, we have to do it again. Oh, okay. Really, really hot, getting hot now. And yep, no, we did it again. Great. Listen, no, let's gotta do it again. And so we did it like 6 times. And I literally couldn't walk the next day. I was done.
Oh my goodness!
It was just so hot. I literally couldn't get out of bed. My body was just destroyed from that. Because I'm not I'm not an athlete. Let's just put it that way.
You also got to work on a couple episodes of The Pacific. How was that? Can you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. Look, the experience was eye-opening and wonderful from start to finish. I was so honored to be part of that show. Every single day that I worked on it, I just had a ball. Everybody was so polite, and it was quick and it was hard work. Like when you're really on, and you had to do the best you could. But yeah, it was just wonderful working with James Badge Dale. And all the guys. Like, I arrived at a very interesting time when they'd just come back from boot camp, which all the actors had to do to sort of make them realize that how tough it was for GIs in those times.
Right.
And there's no, OH&S out the window. So that they had been out on a sort of a bivouac for the previous few days. I think it was like 3 or 5 days. I can't remember right. It was a few days. And they basically, I think one guy said that he just popped his head up. They had to dig their own foxholes in the jungle, and he popped his head up, and he was wearing a helmet, luckily, and this snake tried to bite him on the head, but it bounced off his helmet. And at that point, he realized, oh yeah, really, we're not in Kansas anymore. This is real. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, that's a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone sort of go, oh, okay, like there's no buffer between us and reality anymore. and so like there was a lot of people sort of got it why we were doing that, but some were also questioning how important that is as an experience to have, because they're actors. And so they didn't really want to do that, and they were also angry that they were put through that experience. So there was a fair amount of discussion around that, and I thought that by and large everyone conducted themselves really, really well. I thought it was an intelligent conversation and an interesting narrative broadly about method acting and what you really need to do, what you need to know, and what you need to put yourself through in order to act. Do you really need to have experience something yourself, or is imagination enough? And the answer is it comes down to the individual. And an individual shouldn't be dictated to that they must go through this experience. If they say, no, my imagination is enough, thanks very much. That's my feeling on it, and it should be down to them. But if you're an individual who really wants to have that experience, then go for it. Go and do it.
Sure.
Myself, I love going through new experiences, so I'd always want to do that regardless of what it did with my acting. So I probably would have gone for the boot camp anyway, just to say I did it and not use it at all.
Yeah, I think Taylor Swift did that. She went to cat school to be in that Cats movie.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Cat school.
Yeah, cat school.
What's involved? Was she drinking out of a saucer of milk?
I guess
on a daily basis. What's involved? Is it personal grooming? Was she like, this is going to get really gnarly?
Leave it to the imagination.
I can't go down there. Yeah. I mean, if I use my I have 2 cats, and wow, I'm not going to cat school. That's disgusting.
So just for the listeners right now, if you have not listened to the Aberration review that we have put out, I suggest you go do that now, because we are going to get into this with Simon and talk some spoilers. If you've already listened to it, then keep listening. So Simon, you play Marshall Clark, who is a field researcher of herpetology, in Aberration.
Yes, that's right.
Did you do any studying for that? Like, did you brush up on your gecko anatomy or anything?
I used the reality of the film, which sort of transcended our own reality, as my guide there. I think that if I taught myself too much about biology, it probably would have made me believe in the film less.
Gotcha.
If you know what I mean, it would have.
I can understand that.
It would have run interference in my head, and I would have started picking holes in the script and all that, which I do anyway. So I didn't want to feed that beast too much. It's a fantasy, ultimately, that film. I felt my imagination was enough. Though it is based on the fact that we have seen mutants, real mutants, I guess, as a result of nuclear radiation and God knows what. But I'm never sure how much of that is actually real and how much is just sort of scuttlebutt,
Right.
So it's very hard to prove, and I didn't want to spend a lot of my time trying to prove it when really the premise of the film is that it is real. So I just went with that. The whole sort of breathing water thing was a wonderful moment. I thought, it just has nothing to do with.
That's so good.
Right after the gecko eats her fish.
Yep.
Eating my fish.
What's really crazy to me is up until a few weeks ago, I didn't even know you were Australian.
Oh, wow.
So now I've watched this movie since I was a kid, and it's such a great film. Like, I don't know why it doesn't get more attention, but we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But I couldn't tell. I thought you just were an American guy, and the movie takes place in Minnesota, so there's a lot of movie magic going on here. But it was actually shot in New Zealand.
Yeah.
What do you know? Do you know what the reason for that was? Like, was that just what the story, like that was the script, and it was like, hey, this takes place in Minnesota, and everybody needs American accents?
It's all in the potato flakes, my friend. Potato flakes. That's what they used instead of snow. And we're in New Zealand, and we're in the middle of what we say. Oh, it's going to be winter in New Zealand, right? We're going to shoot this. And I'm like, yeah, sure. We get out there. It's a little bit warmer than we. Yeah. So what are we going to do about the snow? Potato flakes. So they got this massive funnel of potato flakes just everywhere, mashed potato all over the ground. You would, I couldn't believe it. So when you look at those shots in the blizzard, in inverted commas, you'll probably notice that they look very, very slightly yellow.
Well, I guess we just both watched it before we came on with you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sitting there watching. I was like, God damn, how cold was it when they filmed this? And I guess it really wasn't.
Yeah.
No, really, it was hot. It was hot as Hades in that all of that get-up and the machinery and potatoes and explosions. And
yeah, I was going to say, you have a full parka on in that scene.
Yeah, it was hot. Yeah. And a lot of the shots, though, of us lying on the ground, they were shot in studio. When we were lying on the ground looking at each other in a sort of upside down.
Yep.
I think there was one shot of that. That was all in studio. So everything really around the car was shot in out in the open with potato flakes, and anything else was kind of like I think if I remember right, they used sort of a gel-like substance. So it was a very strange sort of like if you can imagine sort of fairy floss that's made of silicon gel that's floating in the air. Really, probably very bad for you.
Yeah.
And that's what was in the studio.
It sounds like something that's really bad for your lungs.
Yeah. But they say it was all water-based. It was all good. I'm like, yeah.
I don't think so, man.
I don't think about it. Breathe under your hand. It'll be fine.
So you got to work with Pamela Gidley in this film.
Yeah.
And she plays Alex. Oh, I mean Amy Harding.
Amy.
And how was it working with Pamela? Because you guys have like amazing chemistry in this film.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we got on great. We basically spent the whole time we were there, I think, shooting for about 7 weeks altogether, including the extra bits. And we were in constant contact. We just hung out, and we're great mates for the whole of the shoot. We just got on like a house on fire and had a lot of fun making stuff up, like throwing things in. We got the script. It was a really well-defined script, but it kind of needed some jokes, I guess, or just a little bit of a push in a particular direction that we.
There are some bangers that you drop in this film, and we wanted to ask you if you improv'd a lot of these, like, she was a nice lady. Was that you or was that the script?
Yeah. You know what? I think that was me, but it's been a long time. I'm pretty sure it was me. By that point, I was very tired. It was the end of the shoot. Yeah. And I guess Simon gets grumpy, and I knew how the direction the film had taken, and I knew that it needed to end in a particular way that was quite pop and fun and light, but also dramatic. So that's what we were aiming to achieve in that scene, and so it sort of got rewritten a little bit. We did hash it over a fair bit, talking about it. It was a really, really robust conversation that we had around that particular scene in the grocery store or the service station store. But she was a nice lady. Yeah, I like that moment too.
Yeah, it's a classic.
I'd forgotten about that one.
It's a classic line, and that whole sequence is fantastic. When you just lose it and you're going around the store hunting the gecko, it's so good.
Thank you. We've put a lot of effort into it.
I did want to ask, in that scene in particular, towards the end there, you have a broom that is lit on fire. Now, were you actually holding that? Were they letting you walk around with that? That was amazing.
Yeah. I really wanted to do that. I was just like, we need to get a stunt. I said, no, come on. Look, I've done this before. When I was 14, I used to go down under the service. We used to play flaming soccer and kick, wrap a tennis ball around with old rags, and then pour kerosene on top, and then play flaming soccer in the dark.
That sounds like a blast.
Crazy stuff I used to get up to when I was a kid, and I thought, this is safe pavement in comparison to that. I just push this broom at this plastic this aberration. So that was fun. It was fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Were you there when they blew up Yuri's head?
Yeah. I didn't want to miss that.
I didn't. I wouldn't want to have either, because like that's one of the best scenes in the film too. Like, and it's just such a great practical effect with the gecko coming out of the mouth and stuff. So I just want to know if you were there to like witness that all happen.
I remember them distinctly saying, like, okay, everybody, look, we're really going to get one of this because we've only got one head. So it's going to take a long time to make another one. So please get this right. And they had another one, but it wasn't, I don't think they were happy with it. And that was the best one they had. They just wanted to get that shot. And they did. They got it, and it was fun.
That's awesome.
It was interesting how that film became, was funny. It was originally funded by Grundy's, and Live Entertainment came in on it. But then something happened with Live. I don't know what it was, and at the very last minute, unfortunately, no fault of their own, they had to pull out. So the film was left in a very tenuous state, and all of the money that they put in up to that point became a liability because they were expecting this growth curve with these funds coming in, which they were then no longer going to be able to. And so, yeah, they really had to pull up their socks in terms of production values. So production values weren't as high as a lot of films like it that came out at the time. And that's basically why. But we still managed to just cut away all of the extra bits and focus on the chamber piece. And I think that as a chamber piece, it's stronger as a result, in a way, without all of the bells and whistles.
I mean, even without those bells and whistles, I think there's still 3 or 4 explosions in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's quite a bit of practical effects and like practical explosions. There's even a little bit of CGI in there, but it's done really well. It's a nice blend, especially for the time.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it was Weta Studios.
Was it really?
Oh my God!
So, yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah. So hired. So some of the stuff from Weta and some it was a mixture that I'm not totally across exactly how it all was made up. But I know that we were hiring the studio itself, or one part of the studio for our uses, and that was an incredible boon for the production as a whole. If we hadn't had that, I don't think we would have made it half the movie it was ended up being, because we had all of these facilities available to us that were already up and running. They didn't need to be created; they were already in progress. So we could just borrow a lot of that stuff in order to do what we needed in our very own, very sort of much smaller way than the Lord of the Rings. Yeah, but great to be around. We got invited to the opening, to just place that in time, opening I think it was the world premiere of The Frighteners.
Oh, wow.
Oh, such a great flick.
Was just around the corner from where I was staying. Yeah. It was in Wellington, because I think that was that Michael J. Fox's last film? Or close to it.
I don't know if that was his last film. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. Be interesting to find out.
But he's fantastic in it.
He is, isn't he? He's wonderful. Such a wonderful actor.
I guess you're a Peter Jackson fan, I would assume.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Are you a big fan of his old stuff? Like Bad Taste and Brain Dead and Meet the Feebles? Brain Dead
is one of the seminal films of that genre.
Yes.
It's so good.
Brain Dead is just brilliant. They keep recreating it. They keep that trope never died.
No.
It's still going. I mean, have you seen Wellington Supernatural?
No.
It's basically just check it out. Wellington I think it's called apologies if I've gotten that wrong. I think it's called Wellington Supernatural TV series, which is basically, it is toned down a bit. It's a bit like, what was that vampire movie that was shot in New Zealand? I'm sure somebody...
What We Do in the Shadows? Taika Waititi?
Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows. Basically, What We Do in the Shadows broadened out across many different disciplines of the supernatural with cops in Wellington, called Wellington Supernatural. But it's the same style as that. And it's, so basically all of those in my mind anyway, all of those kinds of shows all had a link back to Brain Dead. Brain Dead was the start of something really, really fun. It was brilliant.
Now, you briefly touched on this before about live entertainment being involved and then having to bow out. Now, this film isn't on DVD in the U.S., and I think it's on DVD in Japan, France, Switzerland, and Germany, I think. And the only release we got was on VHS. So the only copy that exists here is the VHS version of it. So we don't have any high def restoration of it. Now, Artisan put out the tape, so now Lionsgate owns Artisan, so I would assume Lionsgate has the rights. But do you know what happened with that? Like the distribution of the film, like after it was finished? Did it get a theatrical run, or did it go straight to video, even in Australia?
I think it went straight to DVD. Well, or straight to video. But yeah, it's a good question. Do I have a copy of the whole film? I don't think I do. You're really, that's interesting. I might have one. I just have to. Yeah, sorry, I don't. My house is a little bit of shambles at the moment, so
that's okay.
Everything's been stored elsewhere. But I'll find, if I can find one for you guys, I'll send it over. But there isn't. As far as I know, there isn't one that's actually been released that widely.
Well, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. If I can find it, you know, it's yours, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
But in the same breath, like, I feel like this film needs a resurgence, right? There's a lot of DVD companies right now, like Severin or Vinegar Syndrome or Shout Factory, that could really get this film restore this film to where it needs to be and give it like a proper release, like on Blu-ray, like, you know, rescanned and everything from the film negatives and stuff. I mean, that would be truly amazing if somebody could do that soon. And it's just unfortunate because I just don't know the state, and I figured maybe you might have that answer, like where it lies right now.
I'm sorry, I don't. I wish I did, but I have no idea what's going on out there. It's a strange and many varied world out there of film distribution. It gets, as you've already pointed out, gets very complicated.
Yeah.
Who owns what and when and how and why. It's all changeable at the touch of a button. So if anyone shows interest at all, they could probably pick up that film very cheaply and distribute it if they felt inclined. You'd have to get the negative, as you say, and so that negative could be in either a good state or it could be in a parlous state. So I've heard some terrible stories of the things that have happened to film negatives and things that have been lost as a result. The digital world we live in right now is a lot simpler. But in the old days, you know, if you leave a film canister on the tarmac, you know, because it's being unloaded from a plane for an hour, that's it. You know, forget it. You got to shoot all that again.
Yeah. And that kind of bothers me because, like I said, you know, I feel like this film deserves it. You know what I mean? This film, it would be a shame if it was lost like that, and it didn't get a proper release or a release that it deserved, in our opinion, anyway.
Oh, thank you.
Because we really love it. It's really good. It's some of the best direct-to-video 90s movie that I've ever seen. In my opinion, it's just unfortunate because it should get more attention, and that's kind of why we're doing it for the show, and why we wanted to talk to you, to kind of make people aware of it and try to go find it and watch it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for those kind thoughts. The film itself I think it's a little bit of a maverick at the time, and people didn't know how to sell it, and it just didn't sort of fit in somehow, but also it lacked, because of what I told you about the budget, that also affects marketing. So it just didn't get a push that it probably, probably would have deserved a bit more of a push than it got. like these things are like stones rolling down hills. So I appreciate everything you've just said, and it would probably wouldn't take a huge amount of effort by someone just to put it back on the shelves a bit. But obviously, there's a fair amount of investment that's required to do that to begin with. Yeah, it's an interesting film. There's another film that I did straight to TV called Evil Never Dies. Have you seen that one?
No, but I wanted to talk to you about that because I tried looking for a copy of it and I couldn't find it. That's also Australian produced and released?
Actually, I think it was released in the States.
It was
on a cable channel.
Okay, I know Katherine Heigl's in it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
before she became like Katherine Heigl, or just as she was.
How was working with her?
Wonderful. She's great. Like, yeah, I couldn't believe it. She was so unflappable. She would read on set and right up, just before the take, and I'd like, aren't you like me? Like, you need to sort of get into this, right? And she's just like, bang! She's just straight into it. Absolutely. I'm like, oh Jesus! Wow, where did they come from? 0 to 100. Yeah, very impressive actress.
That's amazing
and wonderful to work with. Yeah, she's really great.
So I wanted to ask you, you like Brain Dead, so I would assume you're a horror movie lover, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are you a Greg McLean fan? He did Wolf Creek and Rogue.
Oh, yes, yeah. I haven't, you know what? I haven't seen Wolf Creek. It's a terrible admission to make as an Australian audience-going member, but it's because I blame, who I blame for that? I can blame my wife. Because she just won't watch that film. I blame Erica.
Definitely check it out. It's really excellent. And I would assume do you like have you heard of Body Melt and Razorback? Do you like those films?
Yeah, Body Melt and Razorback. I did see Razorback a long time ago.
It's excellent.
Really long time ago. I think I was in my late teens, early 20s when I would have seen that. And that's that was great. That was a wonderful B-grade classic Aussie schlock film, wasn't it? It was just
the Ozploitation genre.
Yeah.
We're actually doing that later in the year, so we're really excited to do that one too, because I feel like that movie doesn't get enough love either, and it's such a weird psychedelic monster movie. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys heard of a film called Wake and Fright?
No.
Wow. Now I feel as though I am the pedagogue of horror. It's a social horror film, so it's like kind of like if you went to a small Australian town that was populated by the Monty Python Philosopher's Song singing people, then you would those Philosopher's Song, yeah. And you go in there and everybody's really happy and like this, and it's absolutely horrific. It's horrible. This poor guy gets trapped in this small Australian town. But the only reason I bring that up is a small little moment of pride I have because my mum was in that. And
definitely need to check that out.
She's the only woman in the film, so she won't be hard to pick out. The film itself has some rather unsavory overtones, but it is an Australian landmark in horror in that it came out in the mid-70s when no one was doing that. And so it's another really seminal piece for Australian horror films, and I think that it paved the way in a way for Wolf Creek, knowing what I do about the film in terms of the tropes it uses is pretty similar. So, Wake and Fright had the lead actor he didn't become famous, but one of the other actors in it did, and I think, you know what, I'm going to have to Google that. I can't remember his name, but he was a fantastic actor. Donald Pleasence.
Oh, love Donald Pleasence.
Yeah, Donald Pleasence is great.
Yeah.
Was that around the same time as Raw Meat?
I think Wake and Fright was like 74, something like that. 71.
Man, I got to see this now. I'm like adding it to my mental list.
Yeah.
It is an Australian classic. They class it as a psychological thriller. But you can see them, because there's a new release, 2013, new, in inverted commas. Yeah. So they've obviously done a reprint of that because it's such a classic. Highly recommended.
Definitely got to check that out. Are you a fan of Death Warmed Up?
I haven't seen it. Death Warmed Up. Hold on. It rings a bell, though. It rings a bell, yeah.
It predates Bad Taste.
Oh, really?
As like a New Zealand splatter film, yeah.
Wow.
It's really good. I think you'll dig it. You should check it out.
I'll have to have a look. Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
No, it's fun to get to talk about these films with somebody from where they were made. So that's really neat.
No problem. I wish I'd had more to do with actually making them, and I could tell you all sorts of stories about it.
What are you doing now? Like, is there something you want to promote or anything of the like?
My friend, now I'm out of the entertainment business almost entirely. I do other stuff for my own peace of mind, and I have a family, and so regular income is good. So while I'm still connected to in various ways to making things, I prefer to more control than an actor sort of more traditionally gets. And so, yeah, after a while, that was causing, it was really frustrating me, I think. And I needed to get away from acting for a while. And then that just sort of stuck. And I realized, hey, you know what? Why was I so obsessed with that for so long? Because the world is an enormous place. It's a phenomenally multi-varied place, and you don't need to be just obsessed with one thing for extended periods of time. You can go out and do lots of different things. So that's basically had enormous positive effect on my mental health. No, I don't mean literally. I mean just casually. And yes, so that's good. Yeah, it's a good change.
That's always good.
Good. I'm glad you're in a good spot now.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, Simon. Well, I just want to thank you again so much for coming on and chatting with us. And yeah, we really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure, Joe. Thank you so much for inviting me. I wish you all the best with the show.
Thank you so much.
Hey everybody, if you want some more bad movie goodness, you can check us out at moviedumpsterpodcast.com.
Subscribe to us anywhere you listen to your podcast, and make sure to leave us a 5-star review if you dig the show, because it helps us get out of the bottom of the dumpster and into more eardrums.
Yeah, and if you're on the social medias, you can follow us at Movie Dumpster on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Welcome to the bottom of the food chain.